In this scorching heat of the Western Cape in the city of Cape Town, the State of the Nation address is anticipated this evening at 7 o'clock, where President Cyril Ramaphosa will be addressing the nation, giving the marching orders for the year ahead. Key priority areas: eradicating load shedding, the revival of the South African economy, inflation going up across the world, all reserve banks faced with that problem. Repo rates are up, interest rates are up, poverty, inequality ravaging the people of South Africa. Municipalities, issues of giving people basic services such as water, electricity, giving people RDP houses, which is one of the ANC and the government's projects, will be top priority when President Ramaphosa addresses the nation this evening in the State of the Nation address. Ministers are already up. Officials of Parliament, the Speaker, the Chief Whip, Pemima Chodina, they are all up, giving the line of order for the coming day that will transpire. The Red Berets, economic freedom fighters, have already threatened to disrupt this evening's sitting, saying they do not recognize President Cyril Ramaphosa on the virtue of those Pala revelations. But I'm going to bring in now Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi, Minister of Human Settlements within the country. Minister, South Africans are grappling with many issues. Housing is one of the many issues that they're grappling with. Your government took a decision to roll out low-cost housing across the country. Some municipalities, on the virtue that they don't have the necessary funds to provide those low-cost housing, which has become a provision, particularly in Nelson Mandela Bay, become a provision of the provincial government. How are you ensuring that South Africans get the basic necessity of low-cost housing that you promised them in 1994, of a better life for all?
For today, we're definitely looking forward to the President addressing the nation. On human settlements, as we make an example, Nelson Mandela is a different story. It's not even about money. Nelson Mandela has not been performing in building houses. And I do support the province because I'm one of those who, when I got into the portfolio, I looked, you can't build 28 houses for a year. That's what has been happening over the years. Non-performance, and part of the issue, I remember one platform I muted. I actually muted that we need to look at legal framework to governing local government, especially in coalition governments. Because we're seeing this problem. As human settlements, we bear the brunt. You send money. I'm doing analysis of performance of municipalities across the country, where we give them the grants in terms of provision for basic services, USDG and all that. They're not performing. And because of the coalition governments, one week there's a mayor, the following week there's no mayor. When that happens, plans shifts, officials stop working, projects being stopped by politicians who think that I've arrived now, I need to stop, look at the direction. There are different parties as well. That affects service delivery. That's what the problem in local government is, not where the powers of actually implementation. All the metros like Nelson Mandela Bay have a developer status. They are allocated, they are able to, even within their reserves, allocate money to be able to build. But it's the lack of current functioning municipalities where we are having a difficulty. So for me, it's around us working together to solve the problems of the functioning of municipalities so that we can provide houses. But again, with COVID-19, a lot of people lost jobs. Though we are seeing the economy trying to recover over the last quarter, where employment rose and economic growth we could see, but it's still a long way to go. So the problem is we have a lot of people who previously owned houses, now do not have houses. Now when they're in that category, they no longer qualify for free housing from human settlements, because the policy says you need not have owned a house before. Now, that's why we are doing provision for your social housing where they can rent and all those things. So expansion out of that will be critical. So when we look at infrastructure work that the President, we're looking forward to him pronouncing more around that. We're looking at that category of people, because almost above 70% of the people who are sitting in informal settlements don't qualify for free housing.
When you go to Soweto, there is a specific area going towards Deep Kloof, where there is this low-cost housing to rent, where it's been vacant for the past 6 to 7 years, where the residents of that particular township, the biggest township in South Africa, are simply saying, we don't want to rent these houses. These houses must be given to us for free as low-cost housing. There are other aspects which are run by Joshko in the city of Johannesburg. You go to the eThekwini municipality. How are you also rolling out these houses where the residents are simply refusing to pay rent for this low-cost housing, which is on a rent-to-rent basis on a specific LSM within South Africa's economic outlook?
Look, Samkelo, we can't give people who do not qualify based on policy houses for free. It's the law. The Constitution says to us as a country, we must give free housing or provide shelter for the vulnerable and the most indigent. Now, if you have an income, you don't qualify, and that's why we make provision for these rentals. For those, for example, that particular intervention for rental is more for people like somebody who comes from Limpopo. They have a house in Limpopo, they are working in Gauteng, they are just looking for a place to stay. So the rental option is for that category of people. Number two, for those who are looking for low-cost housing, we do provide for that. That's why, but the problem with, for example, areas such as Soweto, there isn't land inside Soweto. So when you build, you're going to have to go outside, towards western area side and towards Val. And most of the time, if you look at most of the development, Elias Bahai project and all those things, people refuse to move there because they're saying it's far. But for what they are looking for, that's where we can have, because that's where the land is. There is no space anymore inside Soweto to build anything. And you have a lot of people who are in the backyards, staying in the backyard rooms, which now poses a threat because the infrastructure was never built for the number of people who are currently there because of the backyard. That's why you need to decant them out to the areas outside. So that's the message I always say to people, to say, on the rental, if you do not qualify for rental, you are not interested in rental, then there's an option for you, yes, in other spaces, but it's not within Soweto because there isn't space. For that one that is there, if it's a rental, we want those who are able to rent because there are people who are looking for that. For example, as I said, 70%, more than 70% people who are in informal settlements don't qualify. Somebody comes from a province, I'm here to work, at the end of the year I go, or at the end when I retire, I want to go back home. I don't want to be able to, I don't want to own. But there will be those who would say, let me rent to buy. So after a particular time, I will own it. But for now, let me assist in terms of reducing, then we rent. We do have those options. So all I'm appealing to South Africans to look at our different models of service provision, and then fall in the right category of where they belong.
Minister, we're out of time, but I'm going to ask you this one last question. Why is there a cabinet meeting on literally a few hours before the State of the Nation address? We do understand that cabinet meetings normally take place on a Wednesday. Why is the cabinet meeting today on a Thursday? No,
we did have a cabinet meeting, and I think the spokesperson of cabinet will talk. We did have a cabinet meeting. It's a conclusion of that cabinet meeting of yesterday.
Is the Deputy President still attending those cabinet meetings on the virtue that he's said he's resigning?
It's above my pay grade, that one.
Does he attend those cabinet meetings?
That one is above my pay grade. Thank you.
So he was in the cabinet meeting yesterday? He was in the Western Cape yesterday?
Above my pay grade, Samkelo.
So he doesn't attend?
No, I'm not answering that question.
Why not?
No, it's above my pay grade. The issue of the Deputy President, I know you want to ask about whether he has resigned or not. The presidency will...
But I'm not asking if he's resigned. I'm asking if he's attending cabinet.
That's what I'm saying. Spokesperson of cabinet can talk to that, whether I am attending or not as well, including myself. Mamela, attendance of cabinet members to cabinet is the matter that resides in presidency, including myself. I'm subjected to that. By common sense and how we do courtesy, I can't be even commenting whether myself I was in cabinet.
So you're being politically correct. That is Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi speaking about those issues of housing within South Africa. We come to the Western Cape, there's an issue of housing. You go to Imzamoyetu, you go to Kukuletu, you go to Nyanga. Those are issues that are facing South Africans as we quickly pay our bills. Before we come back with the DJ of the National Assembly, that is DJ Pemza, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party and the National Assembly.